In today's video, I'm going to be showing you exactly what happened to my battery when I put on my inverter for 24 hours with no load connected to it. A lot of people are unaware of how important it is to know the inverter you have and what it draws from your battery and everything. If you are living in an off-grid situation particularly, it's something you really want to know. I'm going to let the experiment run and you are going to be seeing the figures on your screen. Now, while we are seeing the figures on the screen, I'm going to be letting us know the significance of what this experiment is. The inverter you are seeing on your screen right now, which I'm using, is a 3.5 kVA, and of course the battery is a 5 kWh lithium iron phosphate battery. So if you watched my previous videos, you would have seen them. I have done an experiment where I put a 1 kVA inverter on without any load connected to it, and I've also done for 2.5 kVA, not like a video that I'm doing right now. I've just shown it in passing more or less. So this one, I decided to go all out to put on my inverter for 24 hours connected to my 5 kWh lithium iron phosphate battery. You can see on the screen it is drawing 0 watts on the inverter, which is normal because the inverter cannot read its own load. But if you check the meter, you can see that it is reading 90 watts. On the surface, 90 watts does not look like it's high or something, but at the end of the day, when you look at what we use in 24 hours, then you will now know that it is something to really consider. Most of the time, we focus our energy on our battery capacity. Oh, what kind of battery are you using? Is it 5 kilowatts? Oh, 10 kilowatt hour lithium phosphate, 15 kilowatts. Those are the things we measure on. Then of course we also talk about solar panels. How many solar panels do I need to get? What size of solar panel should I get? Maybe the array, what's the total? Different things we talk about. But one other thing which we are watching right now that we should be talking about as equally as we talk about other things, I'm not saying those ones are not important, is the experiment we are doing right now, because I've had my clients call me and they tell me that on a cloudy day, most of the time, they say, we had a cloudy day and I turned my inverter on and I'm just using about 1 or 2 bulb lights, and at the end of the day my battery is running down. You know what is happening. So after watching this video, we're going to know exactly what happens, why their batteries are running down all the time. It's about 2 hours now in my experiment, and you can already guess how much energy we're going to be using: about 10 hours, 20 hours and 24 hours. So I'm just going to let it run so that you see how it's going. So in 2 hours we have drawn 178 watt hour from the battery. Now remember, no load is connected to this inverter. It is just the inverter running dry, if you will. As we progress, I'm going to be letting us in on the equivalent of the load that is consuming now. For instance, a bulb light in my house consumes 5 watts. So if we are stacking the bulb lights up, before we can get to 90 watts, which the inverter is drawing, you have to combine 18 of those bulb lights. And the bulb lights I have at home that I really use most of the time, they are not over just about 10 bulb lights. So that is what I use on a daily basis. Now, to think that the inverter that I'm using consumes twice more than the bulbs I'm using is something that is worth noting. And the other funny thing about it is that living off-grid, I don't really have any choice other than to turn my inverter on for 24 hours. So if I'm doing the calculation of what I use for my television, because my TV is not on for maybe maximum 6 hours of the day, if I do the calculation of what it's consuming, it is not up to what this inverter is drawing half a day. So that's how important this is. We have gone for about 10 hours right now, and you can see that we have used up about 850 watt hour. I've done a capacity test on how much energy we can get from this battery, so you can check that video out. I'm going to leave the link in the description below, and I'm also going to leave it on my end screen, so that way you begin to have an idea of what this inverter is doing to the battery. Because if it continues at this rate now, which is just half a day, less than half a day, at the end of a full day, if you know how to do a little math here and there, you can guess what we are supposed to get at the end of the day, because the load we are drawing from the battery is constant. So that should give us an idea. At about 11 hours, we are closing in on 1000 watt hour that has been drawn from the battery. Now, I've also done a capacity test for a 12 volts 220 amp hour battery, so you can go and check the video out and just see for yourself. I'm going to leave the link in the description as well, and if possible on my end screen. I wasn't around for some time, so you can see the clock has gone back to 10 again. So that's 22 hours that it has gone. So we're more or less rounding up on the experiment. In future, I'm going to compare capacity test of different batteries versus this inverter capacity test or load test or whatever. So that way it will now sink in even more. The sole reason why I'm doing all this is just to create awareness, because I have a lot of people that want to upgrade their inverters from maybe 2 kVA, 1.5 kVA, they just want to jump to 3.5 kVA, and they're not talking about the battery bank that they have. So it's important for us to know that when we want to increase our inverter, we also have to consider the battery that we are using. And the key thing to note is this: if your inverter is serving you well, you just need to increase your batteries, unless of course maybe the charging current in the 3.5 kV is much more when you're increasing your batteries. But you don't need to necessarily increase your inverter size. You just increase your batteries and you leave your inverter if it is working well for you. So this is one of the things that we should note when we are kind of upgrading, because if you think the size of the inverter is what you are looking for, well, you are badly mistaken. It is the size of your battery that really matters. We are almost at 23 hours into this experiment, and even if we decide to stop the experiment at this point, the energy that has been pulled from this battery is so high. You can see your screen right now, 1990 watt hour. So if we are assuming that the capacity of this battery is complete, then this is just about 40% of the capacity of the battery. So what that means is that your inverter is taking 40% of your battery energy, your stored energy. Now, if you watch my capacity test, you're going to find out that it is even more than the 40%. So I'll leave the link, like I said, so you go and watch it, and when you come back, you realize that this inverter is no friend of your battery or your solar setup. So one of the things that if we're concluding on this video, one begins to wonder, is it possible for us to have all our gadgets, DC gadgets, so that we are not going to be wasting so much energy from our inverter? It's something to consider, because if I have to do this all over again with what I'm seeing that the inverter draws, I think I will just limit my inverter to working during the day, maybe heavy duty or some inevitable gadgets that I have to just use, maybe washing machine. Now, though they have DC washing machine, but they're not very popular. So, but every other thing, I have a DC freezer, I have DC bulbs, DC everything. DC televisions, they are not hard to get. So if you can get everything in that direction, what you want to do is to just use them maybe at night, and during the day, you can use your inverter. So we have come to the conclusion of the experiment right now. We got 2021 watt hour. That's about what we got in this experiment. So that is 40% of the capacity of the battery officially. So like I said, the capacity of this battery will tell you that that's not exactly true. It's actually more than 40%. So that is very strange. So let me know what you think in the comment section below, because I am still surprised at the result, because what this test is telling us is that all the energy we're storing in our battery, at some point or the other, we are feeding 40-some% of it back to the inverter. We're not even talking about the freezer, the television, the bulb light, the things we're going to connect to this battery. I'll see you guys and catch you on the next one.